Hello, I'm Kasia Redesiuk, and I'm an art director working in CDPR on Cyberpunk 2077. I joined the company around 5, 6 years ago as a concept artist to actually work on Cyberpunk. However, in the meantime, I became an art director and I've worked on Gwent and Thronebreaker.
So, hey guys, Gabriel from Serial Killers. We are here again, like last year, interviewing staff from CD Projekt Red about Cyberpunk 2017. So, as first question, we saw again a 50 minutes presentation of the game. Let's start with the world itself, the interaction with the NPCs. Could you go into detail? Like we saw some NPCs and some speaking bubbles over them and stuff like that. Can we interact with every NPC we see, or are there like NPCs that just go around doing the stuff?
So you can interact them with NPCs. However, not every single one is going to have a very long, meaningful conversation for us. Some of them only react to us, trying to poke them for information, or just they tell us to, just go away.
Mm-hmm. The soundtrack of I think the first trailer was from Hyper. Could you give us some details on like the rest of the game? Are there going to be some artists you work together with for the soundtrack?
We're creating our custom soundtrack for Cyberpunk. However, the details of working with specific bands are a secret for now, okay. And you'll learn more soon.
Okay. Just wanted to go into detail with the feedback. Like, I saw some changes in the gameplay. Like, I think you got rid of the cover system. Could you go give us some details on what changes you made from the last year demo?
Honestly, I'm an art director. I don't know much about gameplay. However, we always take feedback into consideration, and we always listen. We always want to try to adjust to make the game better. That's it.
Okay. We saw some different gangs introduced in the gameplay demo. Can the gangs fight each other in the story? Like, are there going to be situations where the animals and the voodoo boys are gonna conflict each other or something like that?
Yes, there are moments where the gangs are actually pitching against each other. You, as a cyberpunk, you're kind of a lone wolf fighting against corporations, against different gangs, because you're a gun for hire. So you can actually fight with or against any of the gangs.
Okay. You also mentioned in the presentation you can finish the game without killing anyone. Why was that a goal for you, or why did you try to achieve that in the game development?
With Cyberpunk, we're aiming for immersion. We really want you to play the game as you want. So all the decisions are up to you, this including gameplay. You can play with any weapon you want, with any style you want, and stealth is one of those styles, and not killing anyone is also one of those things.
I mean, you probably can't tell me an exact number, but you showed 2 different ways to approach one mission. Can we expect a lot more ways? Like, are the situations in every mission gonna be like you can expect like 3, 4, 5 different outcomes, or is it gonna be like there's like this way?
Just like you said, it's very hard to say an exact number, but it gets even harder considering how many different skills you have. We've only shown you 2 different ways, hacking and then strength. There's also different kinds of checks that will allow you to go past different situations, for instance, by talking with someone. So if you're a street kid, you have a better ways with the gang, so maybe you can talk to someone from a gang and they will let you through something. So that's another way. Will every single level have something like this? I mean, every single mission? Not sure, but we do want to offer people a variety of solutions.
Can we expect, like, after we finish the game, a New Game Plus or something like a chapter select? Because you offer different ways. Should people like start the whole game over again, or can they?
Honestly, I have no idea. I would have to ask someone else.
It's okay. Okay, let's go to the art direction. I think that's your expertise.
Definitely. You talk with art with me.
Okay, so we saw, is Night City gonna be the main theme park for the game? I think you mentioned 6 or 7 different areas in the game.
Night City consists of 6 unique districts,
Oh, okay.
and today we've shown you Pacifica,
Mhm.
and I believe last year it was Watson.
Mhm. So can we expect like a travel over the city, like outside of the city, or is it going to mainly focus on the districts in the city?
It's mainly contained within the city.
Okay. Like, could you go into detail with what we can expect from the different situations in the buildings? Like we saw one, I think, a abandoned warehouse or something. Can we expect like some, or what are your directions for these situations the player will encounter?
So in The Witcher 3, we had this vast open space, and in that regard, it was, pretty easy. You have a gigantic space with some buildings in between. Of course, there was Novigrad. However, with Night City, we went very vertical. And there's lots of different buildings. Many of them you are going to be able to fully explore from top to bottom. It's also going to be dependent on the mission. Some quests will require your access to the entire building, in some quests only to a chunk. And because of that, we also haven't actually really counted, the metrage of everything. We still are figuring out how actually big the game is, because how do you count multiple floors? How do you count surfaces when you have different thicknesses of walls, and so on and so forth. However, if you like how The Witcher 3 felt when it came to how much exploration there is, how many nooks and crannies, different types of buildings there are, I think Cyberpunk is going to be the game for you.
Did you draw any what were your inspirations for the styling of the game, the hacking? Are there any movies or material you took inspiration from when it comes to the hacking, going into the cyberspace and stuff like that?
So let me kind of divide it into a few sections. So first of all, UI for a game is really hard to make because one, you're creating UI for the game itself, but then you're also creating UIs for all the systems. So all the animations, all the briefings you get, all the kind of scans, everything, this is within our UI system, and we have great UI artists and UI programmers that approach this. So this was very hard to approach. However, the guys were aiming for a very clean and readable look. Despite all the information, we wanted to make everything simple, visible for the player, and coherent, so you don't get all sorts of different styles suddenly that would confuse you. When it comes to hacking itself, this is a specially designed minigame by our designers, and inspiration comes from all over the place. It's cyberpunk genre is very vast. There's many different media that tackled it, from movies through anime, other games. And is there any direct inspiration? I don't think, a copy-paste one, but even in the demo, you probably have seen, little hints and nods. For instance, our bike, Yaiba Kusanagi, where Kusanagi, being the major from Ghost in the Shell. So, yeah, we draw inspiration. Direct kind of copying, not so much. We prefer to kind of analyze what's the core of the concept and draw from that.
So, as final question from the art standpoint, what is your biggest challenge, like the change from Witcher to Cyberpunk, like the from a medieval RPG to a futuristic styled?
I think there were a couple of big kind of things for us to tackle. First of all, in medieval setting, most of the things that are there are in a way designed already. We were drawing from historical inspirations, especially with The Witcher being very kind of historically based when it comes to design. In Cyberpunk, of course, we're basing stuff in reality, but we're trying to think into the future. How would people tackle certain things? How would this evolve? And within the game, you can also see this because our game being based on Mike Pondsmith's Cyberpunk 2020, it's 50 years into the future. So what happened during those 50 years? In real world, you can see how architecture evolves, how different styles evolve. You immediately see, okay, this guy looks like he was, he's dressed like from the early 2000s. So we tried to replicate it, and we actually developed a couple of different art styles for specific dates within Night City. You can see it on the posters we actually have in this booth when you are leaving it. Those are the different styles. We called it entropy, kitsch, militarism, and glamour, and so on. So this was also very important for us. So for the player to immediately know if they're looking at a very posh car or a very old car. Is this laptop they're looking at a military equipment, or is it just a plaything of someone's?
Yeah, thanks for taking your time. It was great.
Thank you very much for having me.